the last 5 or so years, I've been talking to our junior faculty, and they thought we were already here. We were always here. And so I thought this was a good time to write a history of this place. That we were not here. We were nowhere, actually. And so the story kind of begins with our dean, who was hired in 1996. He was a professor of IS at Ohio State. And more about that later, if we have time. I have a lot of stories to tell. But he moved here in 1996. And for a year or so, he thought about what needs to be done to the school. He also negotiated some money as part of his position here for the school. And he thought after, whatever, for a year, he decided that he will hire some senior people to help him with the school. And 4 senior people were hired in 1997. I was one of them. 3 people moved in 1997, Varghese Jacobs, Raju Baker, myself. And Sumit Sarkar was also hired, but he was not able to move right away, so he moved next year. So they were the 4 people in the beginning. And I was a professor at Toronto, University of Toronto. And November 1996, Informs Conference in Atlanta, 2 people, Chandra and Sun Chen, cornered me and say, how would you like to move to UTD? I had no plan to move anywhere. I was very happy at Toronto in a corner office. I had a good deal, great city. I joined there in 1973. I got promoted to associate professor in 1974, and I was promoted to a full professor in 1978. So they treated me quite well. And I told Sun Chen and Chandra that I have no plan to move. So they said, well, how about you come to give a seminar and meet our dean? I said, fine. So I came here for a seminar, meet the dean. And dean told me that they want me to move. So I said, oh, well, I have a European family, and they think Texas is a hick town. And they are more European, Toronto is more European, so they need to convince them as well. So we came again with the whole family. That was not a good idea. The whole family was actually not for moving. So I said, okay, we'll take some time. And about 9 months later, from November, okay, I was in Hong Kong. I was traveling all over the place, and then with Ho Min Yan on my side, we were deciding to negotiate with the dean, and I decided to move. Actually, number of factors came out together. Couple of things were important to me, because I want to make it brief, because there's an article about why I joined here, and that article is available already, but I just want to say a little bit about it. And so, while I was being considered, apparently some people realized that I might be able to move, so I got few more offers from different universities. And I talked to Hasan, and he said, oh, but that school, would they like you to be the head of the department someday? I said, probably. So I said, are you telling me that you will never give me an administrative job? He said, yes. I said, that's a good thing. And somewhere along the line, he also said that we really want you to come here to build a school. You've written so many papers, maybe it's a good time to come here and build a school. And that's sort of, I like the idea. So all of these things came together, and in June 1997, I accepted offer. I mean, it matched a lot of things that I had. Anyway, there's no point talking about that right now. So I moved here in September. I came to the school here. Now I didn't realize They wanted me to build the school and build the program. I thought they already had a program, PhD program. You see, we bring people. Why I bring people, and half an hour everywhere I ask the people to meet the PhD students. They never asked me to meet PhD students, and I never even bothered to ask them. Only when I came here, I realized that there was no PhD program here. I have to build it from scratch. Fortunately, I also built the PhD program in Toronto from scratch, so I had some experience in building the program. So more or less, immediately I joined here, I started the PhD program. And more about that later. So let me
Suresh,
yes.
just a question. In marketing, did we already have a PhD?
Yes. So we had a PhD program in marketing. Frank Bass moved here, I believe, in 1960, quite some time ago. And I was a student at the time, and I remember Frank Bass, the story was that he had the highest salary of any professor in business school and moved to Texas. And then, you know, Ram Rao was at Texas at the time, and he was from Carnegie Mellon, so Frank Bass pulled Ram Rao also to UT Dallas, and they produced some very good students here. So marketing department was definitely, and you will see that when I give you some of these charts as to what's going on, okay? So let me go to, I already told you about that. I arrived here as John Ashbel Smith Chair Professor, and the building the OM program was quite a challenge. There was no PhD program. It was almost an evening program. It was like a party school. And there were like 35 faculty members altogether. So there was no hope in hell to think about that we are here now. You know, that we could do something, but there was absolutely no possibility at the time we thought that we could do what we are today. So let's, so I'm just saying here, this is what I found in 1997. There were only one professor in OM by the name of Ray Lutz, and there were two in OR, Chandra and Sun Chen, and there was one in IS, which is Yang Ru. School was, I already said that, yes, but given what we had to begin with, we could not believe in our wildest imagination that we would be what we are today. What has been achieved is not short of miracle, and this article is a postmortem of how we did it. So that's kind of, I added these slides just today. These were the faculty members here. Raymond Lutz was an IE PhD from Iowa State. He was also the first dean of School of Management in 1975. He left UTD in 2000. He was more interested in opera than in operations. They begin with O, OP, right? And operations. So he left here. And he joined the board of directors of the Santa Fe Opera House. I saw him in Santa Fe at one time or another when we went to a conference, Palms conference in Santa Fe. He was a good guy. And anyway, so that was that. The Ramaswamy Chandra was a PhD from Berkeley, complementary slackness guy. Complementarity guy, Sun Chen was a Q theory guy. He had two PhDs from Berkeley, one in OR, one is IEOR in 1974 and 1977, and a BS in physics in NTU in 1969. Yang Ru from UT, and then Hasan Pirkul was an OR guy, so I count him as a fifth guy from ISOM OR area. He had a PhD OR in Rochester, and then went to Ohio State. And then he joined as the dean of the business school in 1996. So we start with the charts, and I should thank Rahul who helped me collect the data, and these are charts, and also some of the late changes in this were done by Aileen as well. So let's see. This is the business school ranking, and these are 5-year. If you look at it, these are 5-year, 19. Okay. So these are 5-year, 1990, 94, 1995, so This is the orange line is our line. We were 68, number 68 in 1994, and we are number 2 at 2023. My article finishes in 2023, end of 2023.
Suresh,
Yes.
this is the usual UTD 24 rank?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
And when did the ranking start, like officially? When did?
The ranking started around, I think about 4 or 5 years after I was here.
I see.
I think maybe 2000. I think there's a year somewhere, but I don't remember exactly now.
Okay.
The exact year.
Suresh?
I do want to mention that the ranking started with 22 journals, and I bugged the dean so much that he finally decided to put POM and JOM on the list. I think there's a little story about that. I basically told him that OM is highly not represented here because if you take management science, that's like 1/4 OM. If you take OR, maybe half OM, and you take MSOM, which is only 4 issues a year, also like 1/3 OM, where the finance and marketing has so many journals. And so I needed to have at least POM. And so we had a delegation going to India. I had, Hasan was my captive audience. We were together, UTD delegation going to India. And so I kept telling him about this. So he said, you know, it's not a good idea to just join, just put POM because they have to have some justification. So Advaides and Chelia decided to take a survey of which journals to go in, and it turns out that they compared several OM journals, and in the survey, POM and OM came together.
POM and JO.
Jero, yeah, POM and Jero. And then Hasan came to me and she said, either we put none or we put both. I said, if that is the price I have to pay, we're going to put both. So anyway, both journals then became part of the UTD ranking. So this is, yes.
How is this calculated again? Is it per faculty member? Total publications?
So I'm going to talk to you about this as well. So the ranking is based on the following criteria. Any paper published by business school professors, if there are 3 authors, let's say, and 2 are from UTD and 1 from other, then we get 2/3. We get 2/3 point for that paper. If it's 6 authors, we get 1/6 if it's only 1 from UTD. And it depends on affiliation listed in the journal article. Okay?
So it's not per capita.
No.
So larger schools have an advantage.
So in the beginning, I also told Hasan that it's kind of unfair for us because we're such a small school, we should do it per capita. No, I will not tell him right now. but per capita, the idea was that the per capita was difficult to implement. People play games, and also they have to report how many faculty there are. So it's not like something we can just immediately just look at the journal article and do that. So we have to divide by some number, and then that can be pretty done objectively in some way, okay?
Do you have
So-
a sense of per capita how to be ranked?
Huh?
Do you have a sense of per capita how to be ranked though? I know that this is not per capita, but
No, but
Where
if you
to
do per
consider-
capita, there are issues in the sense that people will have to report how many people on their business school. They may also have some IE people there publishing this. We do not know how to find the number and divide to per capita. So anyway, this is the ranking. This is what it is, and we compare ours to NYU Stern, Chicago Booth, INSEAD, Harvard, UT Dallas, then MIT Sloan, Stanford, and UPenn. I included 1 INSEAD in there. I thought so these are top schools in some way, and so we did this, okay? Let's go to the second chart. This is the chart where there are there's a score. This one is the chart where you have a ranking, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you could see, since we begin with 68, so the lowest rank in this chart is 75, because we don't have anybody below 75. But the ranking is based on this weighted number of papers, okay? And weighted number of papers, you can see we are business school like 141 in this 2009 to 23. We were like only 14 in this year. So this is kind of a score. And as you can see, if you look at the score, Penn, Howard is very far ahead of the other schools. You can see, right, Wharton line is, no, the Wharton line is down this. Okay, so that's the school. And I also, as you know, this article, a short form of this article is published in POM in January issue. That paper went 2 rounds of review, one by the EIC, and they wanted to make it shorter and remove certain things, and then it went to a DE, then there's another revision. So finally that article was published in January issue, but this is way more detailed than that. Okay. I also added Financial Times ranking because somebody will say, well, POM, you guys are doing very well in POM, so at least we do something. But it's very difficult to find rankings, and so we did what is called a Global MBA Research Ranking of Business School for Financial Times. As you can see, the orange line is going from here to there. Some year the data is not available. So anyway, if we're not doing so badly, you can still see our growth going on for here. Okay, so we are ranked 5 here, we are ranked 15 here. So it's like that. Okay, but most of the articles, most of this is based on the PO, which has now become a gold standard in many places. So now the other aspect of the ranking is that we can rank based on the journals that we choose. So you can choose 5 journals, which is AMSOM, Management Science, OR, JOM, and POM. And when you do that, we get this ranking. So this ranking, now notice I start only from 1993 to 1997. We were not, if you go below that, we were like 150. And so if I put 150, the score, the graph will look terrible. They'll be all bunched up. So we just go from 77 here in OM, and we are now number 1. In 2023, we're number 1, on at least based on this ranking. And when I give this talk I gave this talk to India. They wanted me to give this talk as a keynote speech, and then another one in Taiwan. And I do tell them, this is basically, we're not saying we're better than these schools. These are legacy schools. We may never be better than some of them. But as far as the ranking based on the UTD is concerned, that's what it is. Okay, yeah, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I was curious for the years, 93 and whatever, even up to like 2000, before the journals were digitized, how was this compiled? Was it someone?
Yeah, they compiled. Yeah. Once they did the ranking, they went all the way until when the journals were founded. Yes. So
they went through physical issues of these journals.
Yeah, it goes from at least you can go 1990. Yes. Yeah, you can do all of that. That's what you can do. Yeah. So that's what happened. Okay. Now I want to give you another chart, which is kind of an eye opener. Okay. So this is the chart where the score of schools in these 5 journals. If you look at this score, you see 2 things. One is that there are three clusters. One is UTD all by itself. One is these 2 guys, and one are these 2. That tells you something. First, it tells you the marketing did have influence, so that when I came here, our school was ranked 77. But OM, we were not ranked at all. So there was that. But over time, OM actually pulling the entire business school up, as you can see here. Because if you look at that level of OM publication, we are obviously pushing other people, right? And, well, I don't want to say it, but I will not say it, because even Dean doesn't want me to say it. But we have a little bit of a hedge here, right? We have a big cushion. But that doesn't mean we should just retire and do nothing for a year. We should continue to do it and stay there. Okay, so that's kind of it's impressive. It is absolutely impressive, given that we were like nowhere, number 0 or something here, more or less, maybe 1 or 2, I don't remember, but we are now 80.33 in this 2019-2020. That's the score based on the publication that we make, based on the weighted publications.
And what was the total score for UTD? 100 and...
The total score for UTD was 143 or something, right? Yeah, 141.
Wow, so we're more than half.
Yeah, we are. Those, I invited other people, they are not showing up.
From other invited other faculty, they didn't show up.
Okay, so how did it all happen? Okay, so strategy, and then I will go to more details about. I think more of anecdotes are interesting here because I'll talk about how we did all this. So first, it was realized that there is absolutely no way we can compete in an MBA program with the likes of Harvard and Stanford. Absolutely impossible. So the idea was, why not build a research reputation? And what it takes to build a research reputation? Hire some very good people and let them publish like hell. And that's what we did, actually. But it wasn't that easy. So when you go from one, how do you hire people? Well, how do you hire people when there's nothing here? The first is the OM PhD program wasn't there, so I started the PhD program. So we started the program. It was not so easy to recruit students in the PhD program because nobody knew us. I think I would not even forget the name, and I should not even name it anyway if I knew it. We had a student or two that had terrible, not a good record. The English was terrible. We decided them to take a walk, go somewhere else. So it was difficult. So I'll tell more about as we go along. So the recruiting good PhD students is difficult. And then there is such a small PhD program, how do you have courses for them? So there has to be some strategy of developing courses, and that's where the critical mass of PhD level courses, core and secondary courses came about. Okay, I will talk more about it in the new slide. And then the third part is initial hires. Well, it's so difficult to hire. So initially we can hire those we could. But that doesn't mean we hire bad people, but we hire those we could through connections and stuff like that. And I'll talk more about it later on. And then finally, once we achieved some of these things, then we also had another thing called, down the line we hired some people with connections, but then when we start hiring people, they say, what is the course load? 4? Oh, I have another offer with a 3 course load. I'm not coming here. So I went to the dean. I said, there's no way we can do anything unless you bring the course down to 3. So we get the course down to 3 in 2005, 2006 academic year. That's already 7, 8 years after I came here. And that did a lot of things. First of all, it allowed us to hire good people. And secondly, it hired to hire more people. All of a sudden, if we divide the number of courses by 4 and then divide by 3, we need more faculty already, right? So we hired quite a few people as a result of that. And the proof is now in the pudding, right? We had 2 people we hired at a world-class level, and we gave them a tenure after 3 years, right? Guiwa and Nini. So I'm saying that after the initial hires, we were able to competitively hire from everywhere, right? So that was kind of, okay. So that one is the first part. Let's go here. That's immortal Frank Bass, although he did die. at our school, and we celebrated. We went to his funeral. The school dean and us went by plane to Austin. We were a whole group of people went there for the funeral. But anyway, Bas was very influential at the school, and he's first famous for Bass model. I have some personal stories, Bas, I can tell you right now. He always used to come to my office and say, "When are we writing our joint paper?" Finally, I said, "The time will come." And then we had a PhD student who comes to me with some problem that Bas gave him, and I said, "There's no way you can solve this problem. It's intractable." So I gave him something more tractable. And that became his thesis, and that paper came in marketing science. And then finally I also wrote a paper, just like the Bass model, called hazard rate model of marketing or something. So I did write 2-3 papers with Bass eventually. He was the chair of the PhD committee, and it is where, I was a member, it is there that we found out some of these things. So one of the things is we needed a critical mass of students to launch high-level PhD courses. But how do you get the critical mass of students in OM? But we might get a critical mass of students if we take all the PhD students in management science. So, not OB guys, okay? They were not going to take our courses anyway. And so management science, which is management science, is OM, IS, finance, marketing, and accounting. And we designed a set of basic core courses that everyone has to take. And that would give them 18 hours. These are the courses I listed. And then there were secondary core courses that we would like you to take 2 out of, at least 2 from those courses, and that would give you 6 to 12 hours. If you take all 4, you get 12. If you take only 2, you get 6. So that was one way to achieve the critical mass. And we are still following that model, although one could, in many schools, don't have this kind of model. They could depart from it if they want to. But then you have to have more courses in each area, right? So that was one of the idea of this school. So, PhD students. Well, maybe when we had Chelia, let me see if I can go here first and then go back there. So I told you we tried to hire those we could, okay? So let's see, begin with Chelia. We hired him in 1998. I can give a little bit more story here, which is not part of the paper anyway. Every time I speak OM, the 2 guys speaks OR. So I told these guys, Chandra and Sun Chen, that OR doesn't sell in business schools. I'm an OR guy myself, but it doesn't sell in business schools. It's farmed out in OR department, engineering school, civil engineering department, wherever. So I went to Hasan and I said, I need votes. I need vote, like loyalists. And so Chelia was my postdoc in Toronto. And so he was a professor there later. And I asked him to move. And he agreed to move. And then I asked him, he said, but I have 2 PhD students. I said, leave them alone. So the 2 PhD students came with Chelia. Let me go back to that. He had 2 students, Subodha Kumar and Xiaohong Yue, and both of them came here, and these were some of our first students, by the way. Subodha graduated in 2003, started a position at the University of Washington, then moved to Texas A&M. I'll tell more about that later. I was a big role player in his move to Texas A&M. And now he's currently at Temple, Paul Anderson Distinguished Chair, Professor of Statistics, Operations, Data Science. I don't know how many hats he has now. Founding Director of the Center of Business Analytics, Concentration Director for the PhD program, president of the Production Society in 2024. It was me who sent him to Kalyan Singh. Because he was looking for people, I said, this is a good guy. So he's now a deputy editor or whatever it is, what the name is for P1. So Xia Hong is a professor at Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So he was also came here with Chelia. Okay. Then we got, so 1998, in 2000 we hired these three guys. So Ho Min Yan was my PhD student in Toronto. There were not too many PhDs that graduated because I started the PhD program there in around 1992 or something. So I graduated three PhD students there. One of them is Ho Min Yan. And he got a job at Chinese University of Hong Kong. And then after that, he went to CTU, became a dean there for 10 years. But during the Chinese UK, he came here. We gave him a tenured associate position, and he moved with his family. But then 1 year later, he had to go back because he got a grant in China, and that grant had some I Ching company, some company that he had to, some kind of a supply chain company. So he went back. And then SARS came. And he took 1 year leave, so we gave him 1 year leave. But after 1 year, he wanted another one, and I said, I don't want to give him another leave. So he stayed there, then he became a dean. So I was actually quite good for him not to come here in some way, because he became a dean there. And also, during the SARS, he ended up buying a house for like fire sale prices. That house maybe bought for like $300,000-$400,000. Now it is like $3-4 million. Right? So and now he's the CEO of a fintech company. The fintech company is owned half by CTU, and other half I don't know, maybe the government. And so he has 50% in fintech, 50% I mean, he's 100%, but the 50% of it is in fintech, and the other way is in school. I visited him at fintech. Alam Susan visited him fintech recently. So remember, those are with connections. Those that we can hire, the higher we could, right? That's. Then come mating. Well, mating comes from IE programs. And IE programs, he's a great guy to hire. But IE programs, again, business schools are typically don't interested in IE because they don't have finance courses and marketing courses and accounting courses, and so they are kind of a little bit geared to IE departments. So Milling can tell more stories about it if he wants to, but we hired Metin in 2000 also. So it was a great for us that this happened.
I remember when you called Suresh, I was in my advisor's office, and there came a phone call, and my advisor picked up. And at the time, Suresh was looking for faculty, I think, and they chatted for a couple of minutes. We were having a research meeting with my advisor, so this phone call did not last very long, but that's how things started. So I remember that moment. So actually, you are right in the sense that you were actively looking for new hires and calling people, and I witnessed that firsthand myself.
Yeah, we're looking for good people, so I would not care if a person came from business school or not so good. And I would like somebody who is wherever he comes from. I hired Dimitri Kras in Toronto from mathematics department. Dimitri Kras is a professor in Toronto. I hired him from math department. Yes.
I have a follow-up question. What convinced you to come here, given that we had only 3 people?
At the time, there were a little more people. I saw, for example, Ray Nutz. He was
Yeah.
here when I came.
And Chandra was there.
Chandra was there. So there were like 5-6 people. It was a small department in comparison to what we have right now. But it was an upcoming department, and I asked my advisor about to come down here or not. He said, go.
So Robin Roundy, I invited him as a speaker in Toronto. He came with his Mexican wife, I remember. And so he became a well-known person. He was a well-known guy, and so I could approach him. Connections are important. I'll tell more about that later. But Metin was also, well, it was an expensive hire because the flight from Ithaca to here was like over $1,000.
I think 2000? 2000?
I remember that.
2000?
2000.
You joined?
Year 2000.
Yeah. And I also remember
25 years. Metin completed 25 years.
Yeah, Metin, what about you? Right. I remember, one time I took him to a supermarket with me, I think, or supermarket or one of the places we're buying something. I mean, he was hanging around with me. Okay, so Metin, okay.
At that time, maybe 5 or 6 is not small, right? I mean, 5, 6 people in the department in the business school, right?
Yeah, actually, if you
only a
compare
size,
to regular business schools, it's a decent size.
Yeah.
So you see, we didn't hire. We hired those we could, but these are not inconsiderable appointments because Chelia was headhunted by Texas A&M, whom certainly did very well, and Metin is still around here. Hopefully, he's not going anywhere. And then comes Milind. So Milind leads as a separate page. I wrote to Egon Ballas. Egon Ballas was a great integer programming professor. I took courses from him. Other than that, he was an extremely interesting person. He was tortured by the Communist Party in Romania. Somehow people brought him to Belgium or someplace, I think in Louvain. And then Dick Syed brought him to Carnegie Mellon. And he used to be known as Ivanescu. So some paper with Peter Hammer and Ivanescu are the paper by Egon Ballas. And then he used to teach integer programming course. Milind was his student. Egon also became a member of National Academy a few years before he died. I lived, I think, all the way until about 97 or something, as far as I can remember. He used to come to conferences all the time. Anyway, I wrote to Egon. So Egon gives my letter to Milind, and Milind goes home and looks at UTD, and he goes back to Egon and says, Professor Ballas. Milind always calls everybody Professor. Professor Sethi, Professor Ballas, not Egon. Anyway, he said, UTD is not ASCSB accredited. That's what he tells Egon. Egon says, just go there, Suresh will take care of you. So we interviewed him, and he accepted the job right away. We gave him an offer. What a great hire, right? So within 2 days, Dean offered a position, he accepted immediately. And then he became a PhD coordinator area. Later on, he became our department chair or whatever area chair. Because Hasan comes to me and said, "Oh, I know you don't want any Mr. Job, but who would you like to be the head?" I said, Milind. Now I thought about it, philosophy about not going in administration like me. But I thought somebody has to do it. And so, who better than Milind? And I think Milind did a superb job. There's no way, even if I did it, I could not have done as good as him. So, Milind sadly passed away, so, it was a real terrible news for us. But we will have a conference in his honor in April, and so this is where Milind.
Let's clap for Milind.
Yes. If you want to observe 10-second silence, I'm okay about that. Okay. Then Kathy. 2002, I think. Is Kathy here? No. There was an Informs conference, and I know Kathy since I was a student. And there was an Informs conference, and somewhere along the line, she was at my home, and in this conversation, she said, "Why don't you bring me to UTD?" And so when time came, there's also a connection, and I asked Kathy to move here, and she was a social professor at the University of Michigan. We moved her as a full professor, and so we got Kathy. So that's my initial recruits, if you think about it.
Which year was that, sir?
2002. So 98, 2000, 2000, 2000. And then, now we can recruit world-class faculty. Okay? So there is this guy here. It's also connection, but this is the story that needs to be told. Okay? He is world-renowned expert in stochastic control. If you were to name 5 people in stochastic control, he will be on that list. Maybe 3. He will be on that list. And so I did my work in control theory, so I knew him. There are some common people like Charlie Tapiro and such that we knew him. I saw him first time in 1973 in a conference in Tel Aviv. And in that conference, he sit on the backside, backbencher. Maybe your hearing was better in those days. And I saw him at that time. By the way, now that I'm thinking about the conference, Tel Aviv, a couple of things I remember. It's outside the scope of this talk, but I will tell you anyway. So I was a postdoc at George Danzig at Stanford, and I went there, and I couldn't afford the registration fee or anything, so I just went there. I had a paper to present, and the organizer came to me and said, "You haven't registered, so you cannot present the paper." I said, "Okay, fine, I will just enjoy Tel Aviv." And then later on, I was walking, George Danzig came this way, I came this way. George greeted me, George told this guy, "Oh, you know, he's my postdoc fellow." And later that evening, this guy comes to me and says, "Oh, you can present it." George Danzig connection. So I presented the paper in Tel Aviv. But I also, so in 1980, 79 maybe, I asked him to come visit Toronto. I had a paper in stochastic production planning that I published, but there was an open problem about how to include production constraint. I thought, okay, this would be a good idea for Alan to come and join us, so I invited him. And this guy solves the problem in a day or 2. But none of us do how to do computations. So I brought this guy from math department named Nick Dursko. He was a Caltech PhD in mathematical economics, and he could do computations. So we joined. So we wrote this paper during the week he was here. And I told him, let's send it to Siam Control. He says, Siam Control? Such a top journal, this article is not going to make it. And he said to me, I remember this, maybe you can add me. He said, Arnold Friedman is a big guy, okay? In functional analysis and whatever. If you give this problem to him, he will solve this in 2 hours. I said, but who is going to give the problem to Arnold? The problem is important too. So I said, okay, it is my idea that we should send the paper to Siam Control. And we did. Guess what? Can anybody guess that? It's the only paper that I sent to a top journal, which comes back and says, the paper is hereby accepted, no further reviews required. I did not receive the reviews. The reviews were so good they didn't even send it to us. Or they were never reviewed. I do not know all of this. But I got the paper, and he is the lead author of that paper. So that now I have to milk those connections, right? And so I get an email. I get an email saying, I'm grandfather. I'm empty nester. There's one more line that I won't tell you exactly how he said it, but I can say you that he has a mandatory retirement age in France. Okay? I will not say it because you didn't tell me to. You did not ask me to quote verbatim what the email was. And the fourth was, I need new challenges. So I said, okay, let's try to hire him. So I went to the math department. I thought, the guy is a math guy. It'd be happy for him to have a half a job in the math department. So I went to the dean of math department. Math department looks at CV. Oh yeah, great. We can give him a status appointment. I will tell you now, because the dean is no man here. I thought, this guy is better than all of the math department. And you're giving him a status appointment, I need $1.
What is the status?
Status appointment is you list him in the faculty in the math department.
Same as a courtesy appointment? Is that?
Yeah, kind of. But Hasan told me, they have to pay half salary. So they're not going to do it. So then we had a James Bean was a professor at University of Michigan IE department, eventually became president of Informs, eventually became a president of University of Oregon State University, and now he's on the board of Harvey Mudd College somewhere. He's a great guy. He was in town to speak in my seminar, OM seminar. OM seminar comes into play, okay? And anytime dean level people come, I take Hasan to dinner. So we were sitting in a mango Thai restaurant. And I was babysitting my daughter, Anjali, that day, so she came along. So there were four of us. Me, Hasan, Jim Bean, and Anjali. Anjali said hello to Hasan. Hasan said her, she's busy eating. And then we have a wine bottle, another wine bottle. And then at some time I said to Hasan, math department is dragging his feet. He said, okay, do you want Hasan, our best Hasan, to be full-time in our school? I said, yes, if that's the case, yes. He said, he's hired. That guy was hired in Thai restaurant, mango restaurant. You should go there more often. Although I would not invite you to go there because there's another story about mango, and I haven't gone there for 20 years. That story did not happen that time. It happened with Ken. So anyway, I called him that evening and I said, okay, you are hired. I don't do the salary. Please call our dean to do your business, salary business. Now, I don't want to tell you this, but I think the dean, being a corporate salesman from Turkey, I think he gave him that salary. Not a business school salary. But anyway, he came, and now, given that he's hired at a very high level, he's probably trying to increase his salary every year a little bit to make up for it. But anyway, that's just the story. Okay, since I was hiring along, I thought this is a big guy. Let's do something more. So I actually set up the center for him before he came. I had the center, there was a board, 3 or 4 board members of the center, we had a mission, everything, and so we had the center all set, and he became the director of the center as soon as he came here. So that was another thing we did for a distinguished guy who was a member of the French Academy. You know, the French Academy is, you almost have to die before you become a member. Most of the people are like 90s in there, they're just gonna lie down and talk this. Here's a guy who became a member of the French Academy at a young age of maybe 55. Yeah, okay, but most of the time they're like 80s and whatever. And some people never get it, I suppose. But this is the department where Poisson, Lagrange, well, all these big guys in mathematics were the member of the French Academy. And then what happens? He became the director, he was the director of INRIA, with 5,000 researchers working. That's like a Bell Labs or Rand Corporation kind of thing. And I think he got some honors from Germany, commander or something, or the commander of the Empire of Germany, or whatever. And he became a president of the European Space Agency. I think that's where he quit drinking wine and fell on the steps somewhere. But anyway, all of this is. Alain, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, well, I would like.
Please.
First of all, the story is quite interesting. I want to say that in my case, how much I owe to Suresh before he hired me here. He is a guy who introduced control theory to management science. When I started control theory in the 60s, the only domain of application was space, the space race, and the fight between the Americans and the Russians. Okay, Bellman, Kotriagin, all these guys, Kalman, all these guys were fighting about space applications. It's like now with artificial intelligence or something. Nothing with management. So management was something. So to tell the truth, in between there was economics. A guy like Arrow, for instance, started to see.
Arrow, wonderful people.
Yeah.
Carshell.
So he started in economics. The economist started to see that control theory was very useful for them, especially because of dynamics. Because when before it was purely static, and when you think of dynamic system, you need control theory. Okay? And then this guy, or maybe also your supervisor, I suppose, Thompson, yes, whom I knew because the university where you were, Carnegie Mellon, was extremely interesting. The dean of the business school, Dick Sayert, he is the guy who invented behavioral theory of a firm. So he's
Silent March, famous book.
Yeah, famous book. He is a guy who started theory. So he's supposed to be a behaviorist, but he was a mathematician. So he was so visionary. He understood the importance of behavioral aspects, but himself is interested in control theory. And probably Jerry Thompson. So I knew Sayert very well, very fantastic. He became president of Carnegie Mellon University, and he did great. Carnegie became one of the most important places. Now it has a little bit declined.
That's Pittsburgh. It's Pittsburgh.
Yeah, of course, the city is not very pleasant, but the university was famous. And Suresh is really the guy who, I think you are the guy who really introduced control theory into management science with great success, fantastic success. And I learned about what he was doing myself, and I like it. And of course we met, and he's extremely active, as you know. And then we became very good friends. But when I was 60, I was the time that he is reporting, I was 63 years old. I came here, I was 64. I was very, very realistic. When you are 63, there is no hope to get a job. The job. Even in America. Little possibility exists in America, in Europe, zero. I don't know about India, maybe China is different, but you are considered as finished. Okay? You can rest and do something, you are emeritus, whatever. So I did not have great hopes to get any position, and played a very important role. And I did not know, the lack also was the fact that the school was moving ahead, was growing. That was a big opportunity. At the time, now I'm not sure it would be possible. because there are less possibilities. When, when the school becomes already not old, but still not in the growing phase. And it is, of course, very grateful, of course, to Suresh, but also to the dean. Because the dean did not know me at all. We trusted Suresh. But he decided, and he's a decision maker, and he takes decisions. He's a really great guy. Say that he's not here, so it's no need to be embarrassed. So, going back to control theory, so Suresh remains the leader of, when you think of control theory and management science, Suresh Sethi is the name, number one name comes. So, well, and he's also a great leader. I'm sure he would have been a great dean also, but he did not.
I would fail as a dean.
Okay. Anyway, so it's a big place. It's a very interesting place. There's a lot to be done, and artificial intelligence these days is also a new opportunity, and so on. So combining all these aspects is something can. So there is the fact that all the things that started means there is new things to start. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't think when he joined in 2004 that he would be sitting here for 20 years. 20 is a long time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so I also want to mention again that this was an opportunistic hire. And I want to, later on when I do the factors, I will tell you some of these things because they will come postmortem. I'm just giving you the examples. Opportunistic hire in two ways. One is that we add one position, we already filled that. Holly Lutz of Stanford joined us, and so there was no position left. So I get this guy, Hasan figures out a way to get the second position. Like many other occasions we do that. We have done that many, many times. So this was that. And the second part of the opportunistic hire is the following. One of the great things an advisor can do to a PhD student is to look at the problem that is being proposed and say the following, one of the three things. This problem is already done. Okay? It's not always easy to find somebody who knows that this problem is already done. Okay? Two, well, this problem is so difficult, and so many people have tried over the last 30 years, and it has still open. Well, you don't give that problem to a PhD student, generally speaking. And the third one is, yeah, it is tractable. Let's just do it. These three things are important for any PhD advisor. And I said to myself, if I have a math problem and I go to somebody, literature, this, that, find 10 people to tell me answer to these three questions, now I have a guy next door who can answer all those three questions on a math problem. So that is another opportunity hire, right? Oh, well, another person asking about a math problem. Which one is the answer for the three questions?
Yeah, but can I say?
Yeah, sure.
About that? I mentioned that in my cool Kush lecture. For me, I mean, in a math department, I mean, I'm not interested in pure mathematics. Not at all. Why? Because who am I to solve a problem on which for 200 years a lot of great mathematicians are working, right? So I was very, I like mathematics, but I'm not stupid. I
Like
will
the
never be able to solve a problem.
hypothesis or whatever.
Okay. But here, in applied math, is something when you work on a problem on which nobody has worked before, because it's new. So you don't have Fermat or Descartes or whatever who has worked for 100 years on this problem. Right? So it's a new problem. And And these problems need mathematics because they need models. Everything needs models. Models could be make up something, but it turns out, for reasons which you can discuss, that mathematics modeling is the best way to represent a system or anything. So it is not for everything, obviously. I can explain where it will not work, but it works for many things. And the interesting thing is how we build a model, a mathematical model. You need to be in a school of application. So to be here, as I said in my lecture, it's a gold mine for me. Because I see people, Suresh, but not just Suresh, they come and say, okay, let's, how do you model that? And then, of course, some people do that already, Ganesh and Naveen, certainly. But I want to stress that. That's very, very important. So, my conclusion is, we should not remain in a silo. A lot of interesting problems exist in other economics, engineering, whatever. So that's very important. So even in other departments of the School of Management. So finance, marketing, and Bas, for instance, whom I know, he loved control theory and differential games. He was my only paper in marketing, only one paper in marketing, with two marketing guys who were more or less students of Bas. It was differential games in marketing. So it means that they know nothing of marketing, but you discuss with a guy like that, and then you find something to do. Okay?
So, thinking of Bas, Deepak Jain was one of the students who used my control book to solve the problems and wrote his thesis. You know, Deepak Jain is our distinguished alumnus of the school. He became a dean at Northwestern Kellogg, eventually became a dean at INSEAD. Later he became a dean at Sachin School in Thailand, and then European president of the CEIBS in China European International Business School. Anyway, so, and he came here when we gave him distinction. So that was the control theory problem as well. Okay, so moving on. Thank you for joining us, Ala. Yeah, okay, so I added this before my other talks. Ganesh wasn't here, but I think that now we should also talk about Ganesh. It's only because I can only do so many. So Ganesh, private information, right? We were recruiting Sridhar Seshadri. And Sridhar Seshadri wanted to come here. And let me get back a little bit. Maybe not. But then another person that I want to talk about may not like what I'm saying. Okay, so Sridhar Seshadri, at the very end, his sister lives in Austin, and I told him, is Austin too far or not far for you to accept the position? And he said, no, Austin is not too far. But at some point, he had some health issues, and because of the health issues, the distance that was not too far shrunk, and the Austin became too far. So Sridhar Seshadri decided not to join us, but he said, okay, I'll give you somebody who might.
Consolation prize.
A consolation prize, but some consolation prize. You know what I mean, okay? So Ganesh came with the private information. I approached him and we recruited him. But I don't know whether Ganesh knows this second part. So while we were recruiting, and this I learned and I made use of it several times. So Mike Minardo calls me and says, Suresh, you cheated me. I said, why? He said, you gave Ganesh an offer without tenure. So here's the story. He wants to go to his dean to ask, because we gave him a tenure, he will say, oh, Ganesh got a tenure, UTD, can we match and keep him? But because I didn't give him a tenure, NYU thinks they are much better than us. So Mike Pinero did not even have a nerve to go to his dean and say, Suresh said they did not give him a tenure, but could we to keep him? That conversation never took place with Mike Pinero and the dean. So now the moral of the story is that sometimes it's better to hire somebody without tenure. otherwise, their school can match it. Mr. Ben Susan came without tenure because I did not know how to give him tenure. Who should I write a letter to? The guy has no 5 people from business school who's not going to write for him. So I had to prepare the case. I had to talk to people like Mike Harrison, like Yanis Karatsas, who are good friends of mine, who can write about this guy, okay? And so then after I was ready, I found 5 or 6 people for writing reference letters. I went down and put him up for tenure. It was one of the fastest tenure decisions that was made in our faculty. Within 1 minute or so, I presented his case. I gave these letters. Karatsas says, we grew up on Ben Susan's books. That was his 1-line, 2-line letter, right? So these are big guys, He was a professor in Columbia. Mike Harrison was a great professor at Stanford. And so anyway, I prepared the case, and he got a tenure. So tenure is something strategic sometimes. Okay, so Ganesh, you came as associate without tenure. We gave you a tenure 1 year later.
Thank you.
But that was the plan.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I defeated Mike Pinedo, but now I know the plan was.
By the way, I didn't know any of this. Mike never.
But now you know.
Yeah, thank you.
Now you know. And I don't think Mike will argue with me that his name is being revealed. I removed some of the names because if you listen to my talk in Taiwan, it's a little bit more namely, There are a lot of names there. Let me continue quickly now. Elena sent me an email or called me or whatever, I don't remember, saying Penn State is maybe not treating very well her. And I think part of it was probably very low salary that Penn State was giving, and it was quite low. So I said, okay, I took her CV to the dean. I said, she's a great lady in behavioral OM. Fortunately, she's not here because she said that 15th she cannot be here. So I said, we want, behavioral OM is in fashion right now, and we want a presence of this. And so the dean said, okay, we're going to hire her. So I prepared Elena. I said, you are asking us to move. Don't play games, because our dean doesn't like games. The game is like this. You come, and some people played those games with us, and we didn't hire them anyway. You give a salary, they go back to their school, say UTD gives us this salary, the school matches it, and then you stay there. Okay? I said, don't do this, okay? See, I alerted her. I said, we give you a competitive salary, and if you don't like it, don't approach my dean. Just call me. And I will settle with the dean, whatever the issue is, okay? And so, at some point in time, we gave an offer, very good offer, and lo and behold, Penn State matched. She called me, said, Penn State is making it difficult for me to move because they are matching my salary. I said, remember what I told you? She said, no, I didn't call you to tell you this. I called you to say that I will accept the job, I will not do anything else. But I know the story now, so Elena came. And then, what about Gary Bolton? So Hasan comes to me and said, how about Gary Bolton? I said, oh, cool, we'll hire him. A great guy, behavioral economics, game theory, all that. But one of our professors said, it's not a good idea to have a husband and wife team in OM alone in one department. So I said, okay, we put Gary in another department. managerial economics. So I asked Stan Leibovitz, and Stan Leibovitz sees his CV, and he comes back to my office. He said, oh, it's a great guy, we love to have him. But we have a position, I don't want that position being cannibalized by this guy. I said, no, no, you're getting a freebie. So here's the situation of, I call it buy one, get one free. So we have Elena and Gary.
Did Meko department exist before OM?
Yeah, Stan was there and yeah. So this is my one more, Chiang. See, the one factor that you will see, we are fast on our feet. And these are some of the examples of being fast on our feet. So Chiang came here and he then called me, and next day I think it was, he called me and said he had an exploding offer from a school that shall not be named. It's a good school. It was an exploding offer like within 3 days or so. So I just go to the dean's office. I said, pick up the phone and please make him an offer. And the offer was made, and I think Chiang accepted it more or less on the phone. I think Chiang, you can tell the story if you want. Is Chiang here? Yeah.
I think your recollection is absolutely correct. I think I had an offer, and then I told Suresh, and then Suresh acted super fast and went to the dean, and dean basically matched the salary and says that this is the offer, and really everything happens so fast during that, and that's I now remember. I got an interview with Alan and Shen Qi at Informs. And at that time I was working on this stochastic control paper, and I think I
have some notes.
I happen to be so fortunate and get interviewed by Alan because we had such a pleasant conversation because we share so many common interests. And then I think Alan, I'm pretty sure Alan said a lot of good words about me, and then that's why you guys bring me for the first. I think I'm the first one you guys interviewed in that year, right? Right after Thanksgiving, I give a talk, and then I went to another school, give a talk, and they gave me an offer, and they only give me like 1 week or so to consider. That's when I reached out to.
So now we have a paper with Alan, with Chiang, and there's a notes that he gave me as part of his kind of impressed me that I'm a good guy to be hired. Those notes are still undone. They're still, those notes are sitting with my Hong Kong group right now.
Okay.
The problem is still open, so we are working on it. Okay, so there is this. Oh, I also learned, Annabelle will come later. I'm telling you more about that, about placement and stuff. But I learned one lesson from hiring. Annabelle was one of our great students as well, and she was applied to Rochester. Avi Seidman was the chair of the committee, and he told me that the committee has approved her and sent the recommendation to the dean. Now the offer is not coming. She's waiting and no offer is coming. So I called Seidman and I said, what is happening? He said, the dean will not give an offer unless everybody is interviewed. I said, we don't do that. We give an offer after third interview, even there are 7 more to go. That's how you have, you can't wait for 7, you lose the person. So that was the case, and we do not know when the last interview will take place and when the dean will give an offer to Annabelle or not an offer to Annabelle. In the meantime, Oregon gives an offer to Annabelle and she didn't want that. But it was an exploding offer. So I said to Annabelle, I do 2 things for you. One is I will create a postdoc position for you, because at that time I had a postdoc money. And so if you don't want to go, you can stay. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to call UT Austin, and I tell them the whole story. And if they want her, they give an offer before the Oregon explodes. So UT Austin gives an offer, she accepts the offer at UT Austin, and that's what happened. So being fast on feet sometimes is important. So I don't want to give a recommendation to the dean and wait for 10 days to listen from him. You know, I call him at his home at midnight sometimes to say, hey, we need somebody. Yeah.
Since you're talking about this, based on your experience, what do you think about exploding offers in general? Do you like them or you dislike them?
Which what?
What do you think about exploding offers in general?
Well, I like to give 1 week, not 2. But you have to give 1 week. Now there are even some requirements. Even our dean said you should give 1 week. But then the other school who wants to deal with the exploding offer from another school have to be fast. And that's where we come in. I mean, so we were able to hire a lot of people that way. So now I already talked about, so these are the factors. Leadership and the full support of the dean, my contributions and this OM seminar, which has played a big role. I'll talk more about this. PhD program, competitive compensation to faculty, generous research support, competitive teaching load, collegial environment, all of these I don't have to talk too much. I talk about this more in other forum, but here you will know all of this. So I want to say a couple of things here. First of all, my relationship with the dean. So when I come here, I tell him that I'm a very informal person, okay? I had a dean named Max Clarkson in Toronto who was a businessman, and he would, if he wants to see me, he'll call me, Professor Sethi, come to my office. Why are you not coming to my office? Why you call me to come to your office? I mean, I don't like this kind of situation. So I told the dean, you know, if you need me, you can come to my office. I need you, I come to your office. But better than that, why don't we have a lunch every 2 weeks? That way I don't need to come to your office. I will still come to the office in the situation like Chiang, but normally I will just have every 2 weeks. So that happened, and for the first few weeks, he was paying for the lunch. I said, if you're paying for the lunch, let's have it every week. And so eventually we settled on 2 weeks, and we settled on sometimes I pay, sometimes he pays. The only thing more, all these 24 years, he drives, I don't drive, but we pay alternately on a random basis. I do not know. I would probably say he pays more than 50%, maybe 60% of the time, and I pay 40%, but I do not know. Okay, so access to the dean, know everything. Family knows each other. I can call them anytime. Sometimes we go to his party and we have some extra drink. He says, okay, Suresh, you don't have to drive, just stay at my home. Okay, go tomorrow. Anyway, so that's that. I OM seminar. So I negotiated OM seminar with him. I said, this school is hidden, nobody knows. We need to have people come to know what we're doing. So we said, okay, we'll give you $10,000 or something, I don't remember the number. But anyway, it has never been a constraint, so I don't know if there's a budget or not. I have invited people for all these 27 years. I have never been asked to say, you are inviting too many, too little, this, that, so that is that. Now, what is OM seminar? As I mentioned, OM seminar. I tell them there are many, many things that happen. First of all, our PhD students get 5 years of meeting people who come from everywhere. You know, so you go to a conference and you see these people from Finland. I will say Finland, okay? Like I know a lot of people from Finland. And there are 4 people from Finland, and every time you see them, they're all together. I tell them, why you don't want to see people from other schools? Why you see each other in Finland anyway? Why are you hanging together? The reason is they don't know other people. So we don't know other people, you're shy, you don't, right? So our students get benefit of knowing people. They can approach them, say, hey, by the way, you came to our school, how are you? It's easy to approach people if you see them. And the other thing is that it is so important to have personal connections, because one day or another, our junior professors and our students later will need letters to write, for reference letters, for tenure. They all come to me, who do we write to? So I can give names. The problem is, full professor at top universities, if they do not know what you're doing, they will not write. because it's not easy to read all the paper that they send to you. And then, if you don't know the work, it's not easy. And the schools want people from Stanford or from MIT to write letters for you, and you don't know them. But if you are connected with them, you go to conferences, you say hello, and sometimes you can say, by the way, 2 years from now I'll come for tenure, could I give you a name? It makes it easier, right? For me to give 5 names, unless you know these people, they will not write for you. I mean, I know, I get lots of letters for tenure, and then I don't have the time to write if I don't know them, I don't know their work already. So either I write if I know the work already, or write because I know the guy and I want to give him a tenure. And I know he's a good guy, that kind of person. So the OM seminar is that part. And the third part is that people come and they go back and they tell their school, oh, I saw 40 people, I had a great time there, and then they go back and spread the word, right? Because when I came to here, Franklin Jennifer was our president. He used to say, we are the well-kept secret. Well, we don't need to be well-kept secret. We need to be out there, people telling us who we are, So OM seminar was pretty much of a player, and I learned that from Toronto, and so I insisted that I get this. So I got everything that I had in Toronto, plus a little bit more money. But on the money, I never negotiate. Hasan the same. He got the money. When he asked for money for the school, I don't think he really did much about the salary. Our school could not find a dean. I know at least 2 people who came here to dean. One of them is a good friend of mine. He said, I cannot go to dean. They're giving me lower salary than my professor's salary at that school. Anyway, so they couldn't find a dean, and then finally somebody proposed the name of this guy nobody knew, Hasan Pirkul, Ohio State, and it almost fell in his lap. And they offered him a deanship, and he took it. And look, this is one of the best deans that we have. And it just by accident. So many times when I was hiring people, I try not to, in terms of salaries and stuff, I try to first get the candidate and then I talk to Hasan instead of them talking to Hasan. He also tells me, he tells me that he actually say in the compliment in a nice way, he says, Suresh, you are not greedy, because if you were greedy, I can control you. I can give you money to ask you to do this or do that. But he cannot do that because I never, so it's a kind of a left-handed compliment. But what I'm trying to say is that in academia sometimes, what is more important is facilities and connections and not just the money. Because if it's all money, maybe it's better to go to a business, work for a company and start your own business or whatever. But anyway, that's my thought, and I think Hasan agrees with me on this. Okay, so those are some of the factors that we have. And then I think I don't need to talk about that. And then there are these factors that I also don't need to talk. You cannot build this school in Topeka, Kansas, because these factors are not there. So you need, like when I gave this talk to Taichung in Taiwan, I said, Taichung is not so bad. I mean, it is a big city, it's got an airport, it's got life, so they could do something like that. But anyway, that's what I mean by this. We have and the mild weather is another factor, but maybe one of the factors that I moved out of Toronto. Because for all these years, I was in Toronto for 25 years, I was never there in summer. I got 2 grants from National Science Foundation and Social Science Foundation. I got 2 grants every year for all these years. And I had lots and lots of money to travel and hire postdocs. Because I had lots and lots of money to travel, and Canadian grants you cannot pay yourself. So here, American grants, you pay yourself, so you pay yourself, then there's not much money left for travel. But if you cannot pay yourself, then there's a lot of money to travel. So Canadians travel everywhere because of these grants. And so that got me connections as well. But the thing that I see is that I was never there in summer. And best part of Toronto is the summer. The worst part of Toronto is winter, and I was there in winter. So what better place to move to Dallas, where the worst part is the summer, and I'm never here. Literally, I'm never here. You know me. I'm almost never here in the summer. And we don't get paid for the summer, so we can move to the summer what we want. And so this is another. But also, when we interview people from Northeast, you know, they go out to the restaurant in a shirt like this, and they say, what am I doing there in Ithaca or wherever, right? Or NYU. So maybe it gives us a little bit of an extra kudos to get good people here, you know, because why would anybody in the right mind work in Chicago? I mean, give me a break. Windy City, what is there? Nothing. Okay. I already give you the placement story, right? Rochester, she's a Palm Fellow, whatever. So he was one of our students, and I just wanted to give some placement story. So this is the placement story. Now, this is where we were in 1996, and this is where we are now. It's all the people that we are here who are here and did not leave. So I have another table where people left also. But this table tells you, that's in the paper, not in this. So this table tells you where we were in 1996 when the dean came here, Ray Lutz, whatever, and this is where we are now. I think Maya Balak is the last one. And then, so that's that. And then I also listed people who are adjunct professors and whatever, so this is to give you where we are now. We are now compared to 3 people. I do not know who the adjunct professors were there, maybe there were many, but okay. So, huge rapid growth, as you can see. We recruit world-class faculty. I think we are one of the top-notch PhD programs, I think. We had a vision of build the research ranking first, and then expand our horizon in other areas. Now we have an MBA program that is of some repute. We have started an undergraduate program. All of this happened afterwards. So once you make your name, then it diffuses into other areas, and that's what the idea was in the beginning, to begin with. This is not a B- school, by the way. somebody has to figure out. The slide makers, we need to worry about these things. I'm stickler for details. Then strategic outlook, we do competitive compensation, so much so that Anyan bought his house in the first year. And almost a year worth of salary, including the summer, was more or less good enough for starter home. Although he bought a bigger than the starter home. And so now maybe 2 years of salary, maybe get a starter home. And I was talking with Taiwan about this. I said, how many years do you have to work for salary? 30 days? 30? They said, no, more than 30. I said, 30 versus 2? I mean, this is important. So we do have a competitive compensation. NYU, for example, you have to maybe same salary probably goes maybe 50-60% at least more cost of living than here, at least, right? So if there are questions, there is just more questions. I'm happy to tell more stories, but
I think someone sent a message in the Teams chat, so someone may have had a comment about something.
Yeah, anybody in the Teams want to ask questions? Hello?
Maybe not.
Well, in that case, thank you very much for listening. We can post that later, wherever. Thank you.